Yo guys, alright, so we are going to react to Metahumans in Blender using OpenRay logic to customize DNA's behavior inside Unreal. Now, this was something I was really interested in, mainly because I just started using Blender, but also because of Metahuman and how like it already started to be integrated in workflows for character artists, and I'm very interested in knowing and understanding the logic behind it, especially how to use it into Blender. Obviously, this is something that I'm going to take actual like notes for. So yeah, I'm actually like Blender X meta human workflow. So I'm gonna put to the side, and yeah, let's start the video right now. It's 1 hour and 22 minutes, 23 if we round it up. So yeah, let's race. Let's skip the first, what, 4 minutes? I am not. Okay, there you go. This is something I'm very excited about. Really learning about Blender is always something that's exciting. Inside Unreal.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Inside Unreal,
Oh,
a show where
damn.
we learn, explore, and celebrate everything Unreal. I am your host, Dan Hutnick, and
Oh,
if
wait,
you
no.
haven't heard, the Fab Summer Mega Sale is currently live. Check it out to stock up on everything you need for your summer projects. Get up to 70% off of tons of assets.
This is actually great advice because I actually need to make my video on like the recent like fab not just sales but even the free stuff. Like they've been giving out like great stuff actually.
Templates, materials, and much more. You've got until 11:59 p.m. ET on July 29th to dive in. Head over to fab.com/sale to
W
snag
promo.
yourself a deal. With that, today I am joined by James Baber from Polyhammer, who is here to talk about Metahumans in Blender. Pretty exciting. James,
Okay.
go ahead and let folks know who you are.
Yeah, hi, I'm James. I am a 3D tools engineer at Polyhammer, and we specialize in integrating 3D technologies for artists.
Perfect. Well, this is a very exciting thing. We've already had several folks in chat going kind of crazy for it. I'm also one of them. I also use Blender quite frequently. So let's talk about a little bit what we're going to be exploring here today.
Yes, so following Epic's official announcement of the MetaHuman Dev Kit at Unreal Fest, Polyhammer has integrated OpenRig logic into Blender. I will be showing you how you can use our free add-on to get a one-to-one MetaHuman rig in Blender, working just like it does in Unreal Engine. And then furthermore, I'm going to be diving into some advanced workflows in the latter part of the presentation, touching on some of the pro features that we have in this add-on.
Perfect. Well, if anybody is watching live and has any questions for James specifically about using this OpenRig logic with Metahumans in Blender, please leave in the comments brackets question followed by your question, and we will gather as many of those as we can and pass as many of those as we can to James here towards the end of the show. Please keep these questions relevant, to the topic of OpenRig logic and Metahumans in Blender, because that's what we're here to talk about today. If you have any other questions about general ecosystem, anything of the like, please head over to the EDC, our Epic developer community, where we have our forums, tutorials, documentation, and so much more as a resource for you. With that, are you ready to jump in?
They're really going to talk
Yeah,
about
let's
the
go ahead and
tool
jump
and
into. I have a
I mean,
slide
makes
deck here that I
sense.
wanted to show at the beginning.
Great.
This is just kind of to give people a preview because most of this is going to be a live demo. But when I was preparing this, I was kind of anticipating there being two types of viewers, maybe professionals that work with metahumans every single day.
Yeah.
Maybe you use Blender and you've never used Unreal Engine, you never use metahumans. So I did want to kind of do a little bit of, or take a little time to just define a few things around metahuman tech so that, you know, those people.
Hold on. I do want to check out the filter. Okay. I
That
think
are
it should be
unfamiliar
fine.
can kind of get up to speed on that. And also kind of explain what rig logic is. You may have seen this at Unreal Fest and never even heard of that. So I'm going to kind of explain that here over the next couple slides. But the presentation is going to be in two parts. The first part is just going to be an overview of how Open Logic has been integrated into Blender. That's the runtime that powers MetaHuman rigs, and it is in a free add-on that you can get right now. The second part is going to be customizing DNA's behavior with only Blender. So previously, you know, you could do this with Maya in the Maya expression editor. We have some pro features that allow you to do this. So if you're say you work as a professional character artist, you're a tech animator, this part of the presentation might be a little more interesting to you. But we're just going to go into part one. And for us to even talk about that, we need to understand what is DNA. So DNA is a proprietary file format invented by Epic Games. It contains meshes. It contains joints, which Blender calls bones. It contains blend shapes, which Blender calls shape keys. And probably at this point, you're thinking, okay, well, this sounds kind of like FBX or GLTF or some other file format. And that's where it gets a little more interesting. So there's something called GUI controls. These map to raw controls. And raw controls are ultimately what feed into the rig logic runtime and tell your MetaHuman character how to evaluate different expressions. Then we get into the behavior layer of DNA. And this is kind of what I'm going to talk about in the later portion, is how we can customize some of this stuff. So there's something called PSTs. These are post-space deformations. We're going to touch on these later on. There's RBFs, and these are primarily in the body, but they're also in the neck of the metahuman. These are radial basis functions, and these act as these advanced interpolation solvers that allow you to adjust corrective bones. Now, all of this stuff is going to make a lot more sense when you see it, an actual demo of it. But we're going to touch on those briefly. We do have a tutorial on how to use the RBF editor on our YouTube.
Oh, that's
so I'm
perfect.
mainly just going to focus on the face today, because that's the newer stuff. And then there's also animated maps in DNA. So what these are basically mask values, and you can hook them up to a shader, and the actual rig itself, or rig logic, will compute your mask values. And there are different variants of blood flow maps on the colors, or on your base color map. So if we take a look at this character here, you can see she does this expression at a certain point where there's the wrinkle in the nose, and you can see around the nose bridge there's kind of those wrinkles appearing. That's actually happening at the material level, and that's by these animated maps, which allow through those extra blood flow maps on top of your base color, and then it also allows through the normal maps on top of your base normal maps to then get those effects that you're seeing with the light there. So we're also just going to demo that here in a bit. But the add-on itself is really geared towards supporting stuff you're exporting from MetaHuman Creator. So MetaHuman Creator outputs a head DNA, outputs a body DNA. Here's a little breakdown of some of the contents that's in those files. This is by no means exhaustive. There's actually a lot more information that's in a DNA file. But I think you get the idea. This is a lot of data that makes up a MetaHuman. And when you're talking about a rig and computing or evaluating all this data, you have to do that really, really fast. And so that's why Epic invented something called rig logic. And this is a portable runtime that evaluates the rigs based on the contents of your DNA file. So in the first part, I mentioned the GUI controls. Those map to raw controls. This is what you'd animate on, or import your motion capture that you baked onto your control rig in Unreal Engine. And then you have your raw controls. These are ultimately what dictate what happens in the RigLogic runtime. So those go in, out the other side, you get your bone transformations, you get your shape key values updating, and you also get those animated map values, those materials that I was talking about earlier, evaluating on the material of the metahuman.
Yo, wait, this is actually kind of insane how they've integrated such a like a tool in Blender.
About
Like really implementing like the whole logic of like MetaHuman Unreal into like Blender is kind of crazy. I'm very surprised. I'm not even talking mainly because like I'm extremely surprised.
RigLogic is portable. They designed it in a way where it is application agnostic. It's just a C++ SDK. That's what they released at Unreal Fest. They have Python bindings for it. Our
Yeah.
add-on utilizes it. This runs in Unreal Engine. It runs in Maya. It runs in Houdini, and now it's running in Blender.
In Blender. Okay, yeah.
So what does that do for us? That
It has been integrated into Maya. I have tried it. I really like it. Not necessarily like the whole animation stuff, but really just trying to use the metahuman in itself. So yeah, that's actually also very convenient. Because before they even added it to Maya, I used to just go to Unreal, then directly kind of um, export the file.
A lot of cool workflows.
Okay.
For people who, I mean, I'm sure most people watching this have maybe seen MetaHuman Animator or played with it, but if you
Yes.
haven't, you should Google it. You should check it out. They've got a ton of really cool tools.
Yes, this is also a very cool tool. I'm still like having problems with it, but I think it's very cool how it can really capture your whole movement like without needing a huge amount of equipment.
Tools that you can use. You can make motion capture from your iPhone. You can do it with just an audio source. If you're a professional studio, you can have your own head-mounted camera set up and process depth data and get your animations that way. But you can take these animations out and you can import them onto your MetaHuman rig in Blender, since the MetaHuman is working just like it is in Unreal. And then most recently, there's the markerless motion capture feature that they released in 5.8, which just kind of magically makes full body animation from a single video source. Which is really cool. And so this can be the start for maybe your motion capture pipeline where you clean up animations or stitch together different animations. So I'm kind of let people fill in the blank exactly what this could be useful for, or what kind of workflows you could use with having this add-on and having MetaHumans integrated in Blender. So that's the first part. We're going to just show that the actual MetaHuman rigs and everything integrated into Blender. And then the second part, we're going to get into some of those pro features I was talking about. So like I said, if you're a tech animator, character artist, this part of the talk might be a little more interesting to you. And we're going to kind of dive deeper into some of those things that I was mentioning on that those earlier slides. But this might be what your current custom MetaHuman pipeline looks like. You first generate it in MetaHuman Creator, you take it out into Maya, you're using the Maya expression editor. Maybe you don't like the sculpting tools that you have in Maya, so you rather prefer sculpting in a program like ZBrush. Or some people are even sculpting in Blender, because Blender's got some really great sculpting tools. Maybe you have Faceform Wrap in your workflow. That's a very powerful mesh wrapping software. And then there's Houdini, which there's also the groom tools that you have with Houdini. But Blender's also got some really great groom tools as well. So the question that I'm really asking is, could your pipeline look like this?
Okay. But also, yeah, if we're looking at the old pipeline, it's fairly expensive, especially with currently in the 3D industry. While we're getting a lot of like new stuff that are free, like a lot of the big softwares cost a lot. It's unless you're a student it really takes an art if we're being honest. Um, but even then, I'll say when you want to like modify your metahuman, actually, it's still. I mean, you can modify your metahuman with the tools in it, but you'd still like go back to sculpt if you needed to like actually like be more precise with certain like facial structures. So yeah, he is right. The whole pipeline is kind of
Being
expensive.
software. And then there's Houdini, which there's also the groom tools that you have with Houdini. But Blender's
But this is what I really like about the Blender community. Obviously, they're thinking about ways to give like free tools, free assets to like 3D artists so they can get started up and like it's never like something that's like out of date. It's always something new that is updated and stuff like that. So it's really cool seeing somebody do this. So it makes the pipeline not only easier but also less
also
expensive.
got some really great groom tools as well. So the
Yeah,
question that I'm really asking is, could your pipeline
yeah,
look like this? I'm going to be honest, I don't think we're quite there yet, but with Unreal
fair
5
enough.
8 and some of the features in this add-on, I think we're getting very close. And so what we're going to do today is this right here. We're going to see what we can do with just Metahuman Creator and Blender. And to demo this, what I decided to do is I have actually an ape character. And the reason I
Oh,
decided
okay.
to do
Hold on.
is I have actually an ape
Okay, so they are like you said. There's a lot of presets. Actually, there's
character.
a ton
And to
of
demo
them. He
this,
was sliding.
what I decided to do is I have
Oh
actually an ape
wow! Wait, that is so cool. Oh my gosh.
character. And the reason I decided to do this was Metahuman Creator is actually really, really good at humanoid characters. And it's actually so good that it gets a little hard. I'm not a character artist, so I don't have a very trained eye. It gets a little hard to see issues in facial anatomy if you don't do that every day. And so when you get
Yeah.
a humanoid character out of Metahuman Creator, it actually looks pretty good. With the ape, I was able to clearly identify some issues. I think everybody on the stream is going to be able to see the issues that I'm going to fix on this, and
Yeah.
we're going to see how far we can get with that in the demo today. With all that being said, this is not like a step-by-step tutorial. I'm not going to show every click. I'm probably going to go through some of this stuff kind of fast, but I do want to kind of show you as much as I can of the workflow. And that's why I recommend you follow us on our socials, but especially I would recommend
Polyamor?
subscribing to our
Okay.
YouTube channel because we make tutorials on all this stuff. And that's, you know, step by step, all the plugins you need to install, you know, exactly how to do all those things. We also have discussions on our GitHub that you can ask questions on there as well. But with that, I think I'm just going to go ahead and jump into the first part of the presentation. And we'll get rolling here because I think the best way to really understand all of this is just playing with the tools. So I'm sure people are aware this is Metahuman Creator. If not, this is a very powerful tool in Unreal Engine.
Yes.
You have really great looking characters out of the box. But there's this section on here. There's an export tab. There's a DCC export option. And then there is a part where you come in here and you specify a file path. So I already did this. I exported, I ran the export process, and I'll show you what that looks like here. So that gives me, kind of like I was saying in that earlier slide, we have our head DNA file, we have our body DNA file.
Wait, did he export in? Okay, wait, he specifically exported in DCC,
some
not
maps
DNA.
in this maps folder. And I think this might explain a little bit what I was talking about with the animated maps from RigLogic. So this is a neutral. This is the neutral pose of the Metahuman. This is what their texture looks like. This is a variant. and there's kind of this is the second wrinkle map, and then the
Oh,
third,
okay.
and then it also works the exact same way with your normal maps.
For the
This is your
normal,
face
okay.
pose, variant 1, 2,
Huh.
and 3. So I will show you what that looks like on the actual rig. So you can, how this works is once you have the add-on installed, you just go in here, import, and you go to Metahuman DNA. You can import that way. Personally, what I like doing is I just drag and drop the head DNA file onto the viewport, and that'll pop up a dialog. You get this option to include the body by default. I'm gonna import the body. So you just click import. It will import here for a second, and then we should have our Metahuman in Blender. So if we have our
Okay.
baseboard here,
That was pretty easy, actually. Um,
pop up a dialog. You get this option to include the body by default. I'm gonna import the body. So you just click import. It will import here for a second, and then we should have our Metahuman in Blender. So if we have our baseboard here, and maybe we grab like the jaw control, we grab the mouth, we have the eyes, everything is working exactly like it does in Unreal Engine, and that's because it all goes through that exact same runtime rig logic.
okay.
As far as the add-on UI itself, you have this tab, Character DNA, and you have a baseboard panel here. So you have some other options like maybe
Use
enabling
eye.
the eye aim control
Character DNA.
instead of
Okay,
the
there's
actual
like
eye
a.
controls on the board. You also have some poses, like you have some bizemes for the mouth. You got some emotions, and these can be
Oh wow.
good for understanding how the rig works. You can see how the different controls map to which parts of the face. These also can be nice if, say, you have motion capture data and you want to overlay some kind of emotion on top of your speech. You can use those for that. This is the wrinkle maps that I was talking about earlier. So these are, to see this, we'll switch to the mask view.
Yeah.
These are the 3 poses that activate those maps to their maximum value. So if you're trying to debug those, these can be helpful, or maybe you're looking to extract some scan data. This is kind of how you would try to get your poses so that you could then make those maps that we were seeing earlier for the variants. And let me go back to the combined view. So like here is a really good example on the forehead. You can see those wrinkles on the forehead. That's that first wrinkle map. And that also happens at the normals layer as well.
Oh wow.
So
You said
some of this stuff
live.
can be useful when you're kind of decomposing your rig. One thing that I wanted to touch on was the rig instances panel. So what this is this ties together all the information for MetaHuman rig. This is a Blender scene data block. It persists with your Blender file. But within a rig instance itself, it has 2 components. It has the head component, it has the body component. Both of these have their respective rig logic instances, and then those rig logic instances read from their own DNA files. So you have the head DNA, you have the body DNA file. That's how it knows how to do some of these transformations of the bones or of the shape key values, etc. So you can disable like an entire instance, for example. So like the rig doesn't work anymore. You can re-enable, and you can also do that at the component level. You can also do that at the output level. So like bones, shape keys, wrinkle maps, and then RBFs, which I'm going to talk on briefly. Because like I was saying, we're not going to spend too much time on the body today, but I'm going to show you the body bones. So these yellow ones here are the what are called driver bones, And when you rotate these, this then feeds
Oh.
that rotation value into your radial basis function, and that function computes these corrective bones. So the best way to understand what I'm even talking about is if you rotate this with RBFs turned off, you can see how you have all this pinching going on and you're losing volume there in the shoulder. If the RBFs are on, that actually looks good. And that's because these corrective joints are moved or posed at key poses to correct for those particular rotations. So those are done by solvers, which we were looking at the clavicle there. So the clavicle has just a couple key poses. So you can see here, these have been statically set. Like this is how the bones should correct at these different poses. And then there is a fall off function that basically defines interpolation on those functions. You can edit these. You can add more of these. We have a tutorial on our YouTube video, so I'm not going to talk about that today. But we're just going to focus really on the face. But yeah, that's really the body rig, the face rig. I am going to actually touch one more time on the.
I wish the body rig was a bit more prominent and like kind of like the face rig. Like I can really see the controls, you know. But you know, this is already a great tool though.
Touch
So
one more time.
Can't really complain.
The material side of things. So if we go back to our view options and switch to masks, let me grab this here. The add-on itself has this special thing called a texture logic node, and this is just a special node. You can actually add it in your shader graph in Blender, and you would link up your material in your rig instance. Here, you basically just say, I'm using this head shader is the one to look at, and then it'll grab the texture logic node out of there. And then when you have animation, it will actually drive this. So let me pin this so this doesn't move. And we will import some animation. This is probably what 90%.
Can also use the shader node.
What are going to want to do with this is make some motion capture, like do a performance in Metahuman Animator, and then pull that into Blender. So I'm going to just import this onto the baseboard.
Add it.
And so I'm going to play through this, so you can see those different maps evaluating on her face, and then you can see that that's all that really is the slider values going from 1 to 0 on this. And this is just a special node that mixes your base with 1, 2, 3 variants on the color, and then your base normal with your 1, 2, 3 variants on the normal map. The actual material.
So it basically creates like new values. Creates values from the base and their variants. That's actually cool to know. Base color and normal, I think. Yeah. Color and normal maps.
Itself is not like, so if you're trying to render something in Eevee or Cycles, you're trying to make final pixels in Blender, this is not really for that. You would use this node and you would set up your graph to do that. Basically, this is really about inspecting your textures and making sure that you got the right information on them. But like I said, if you're looking to make final pixels in Blender, just start out with this and you build out the rest of your shader graph to rendering whichever engine or Eevee or Cycles, whichever one you're targeting.
It's more for verifying. Okay. Textures and corrections.
Let's go to layout here, and I'm just going to play. So you can see that we are, this is running in real time, and you have your Metahuman rig working exactly like it does in Blender. And this is the exact same animation you see in Metahuman Creator when you are, you know, doing testing out the ROMs in Metahuman Creator. So
Okay.
that's pretty much it. That is the actual integration itself. This is an exporter as well, so you can export. You can import a DNA file and you can export a DNA file. So I'm just going to demonstrate that. So here I actually ran through this before, and there's some information in that file. So I'm going to jump out of here, and I'm going to delete this just so you guys can see that I'm not cheating.
Okay.
This is so well, I guess the best way to illustrate this would just be if we modified her head. So I'm going to make sure this is active in edit mode. If we go in here, maybe I grab a vertex here, enable proportional editing, and let's just do something horrible like this.
Okay.
So obviously we changed the mesh.
So yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and kick off this export. And this might be a little overkill because what the Metahuman Creator export option does is it mimics the same thing that Metahuman Creator does if the DCC export. So you get your head DNA, you get your body DNA, and then you get your animated maps, which it pulls out of the inputs of the texture logic node, and it packages those up into that same folder structure with the same naming conventions. And the reason why I said it was overkill was because we only changed the head. But you can see here, we exported our DNA.
Oh.
And then if we go to a new...
Oh, wait. Oh, only component? Wait. So you can just decide to like re-import like the whole entire thing or just one specific thing? That's actually kind of nice. But like, what's like the changes?
And yeah, one thing, well, I'll show you here in a second. I'm going to re-import this. And then this time I'm going to enable all these LODs and click import.
Okay, it's taking
So we just round tripped the DNA, and you can see that our changes took as we exported it. The thing I was trying to point out was the update logs option. This is the default option. So so let me back up. So RigLogic actually has...
What does that mean though? But you do need to like re-import it as like a whole I guess between each changes that you do, like each major change, you would like do like a save file. Oh. Okay. You can export your changes from Blender to Metahuman character, Metahuman Creator. I guess from Unreal then. Add all the LODs.
Has support for levels of detail, which you'll see a lot in game engines. But it handles that for you. And I don't know if people have seen the latest demos with Metahuman crowds, and I think they had like 1,000 Metahumans on screen running at frame rate. But how a lot of that works based on how optimized Metahumans are and how they can go down to these lower levels of detail. So let me switch to wireframe. And I'll just kind of scroll through these so you can see the meshes themselves.
Oh, what? Oh my gosh, wait. This is a great base mesh. Wait, this is actually so good. What the? Oh my gosh. Hold on. Wait, this was... I did not know about this. LODs can change the definition of the topology. Oh my gosh. Especially one of my main complaints with MetaHuman, like I've used it, uh kind of the base mesh and all. Like it's so high poly and it's sometimes like very hard to like go down, you know? It's one of the things that I genuinely like do not like. It's like sometimes whenever I do some cleanup and optimize my character, like I manually like clean the character up and I'm like, okay, I can't do like too many changes. Um like I'm not saying the topology of Metahumans is bad. That's not what I'm saying. It's actually great, right? But it's kind of hard to like go down in subdivisions when like you're using metahumans. So this is actually great. Oh my gosh.
Get less
Wow. Oh my gosh. Wait, this is great. This is
and
good.
less complex, and then actually at the rig logic layer itself, it does some optimization, so it's not computing as much
Oh my gosh. Wait,
data
why
when
is
you're
there
working at a certain LOD level. But the thing that I wanted to point
sorry.
out was that the R tool, basically you just do an edit on LOD 0, and it has an algorithm that will fix all your lower level meshes. So you don't.
Okay. So you do have to uh do all the initial changes in LOD 0, which I mean it's not like that inconvenient, but it is inconvenient in the sense that if you do want to work like in the lower levels, I feel like it would be easier, like let's just say kind of like in the sense of like when I'm using ZBrush, I always prefer to go the lower divisions than go on the higher divisions. And whenever I want to do like a big change, it's just easier to go on the lower divisions, right? So it would be just easier to like do big modifications on like LOD like 7 than LOD 0. But basically I have to do my changes in LOD 0. That's kind of inconvenient.
You don't have to go in and edit those things manually. Just edit LOD 0, and then it takes care of the rest for you.
Wait, what? Sorry.
You don't have to LOD level. But the thing that I wanted to point out was that the R tool, basically you just do an edit on LOD 0, and it has an algorithm that will fix all your lower level meshes. So you don't have to go in and edit those things manually. Just edit LOD 0, and then it takes care of the rest for you. So what I'm actually going to do is we're kind of at the end of the first part, but I'm going to kick off this example. It's just because this takes about a minute. It's a little slow, but I'm going to click convert. So that is a MetaHuman working in Blender. Kind of what I was talking about before with unlocking various workflows. You have MetaHuman Animator. You can do it from mono video. You can do it from depth data. If you have a professional head-mounted camera setup. And then also the let's see, where was it? On the other tab here. So we have a markerless motion capture. Which, you can see here, or here, all the things that you can do with that. And it's really simple to get those animations into Blender. This is, I think, almost done running. And I'm going to show you why I decided to do it this way. Basically, you feed it a base DNA, and then it has its own algorithm it runs, and it will template that DNA
Oh,
into the shape of your
wait, that's dope.
wrap
Hold
mesh.
on.
There's also a similar feature in Metahuman.
Wait, this helps a lot, especially for I was gonna say this helps a lot like for even riggers uh like to even use like because if it basically like from like your mesh convert to DNA, so it converts your basically uses your initial mesh and to turn it into a metahuman mesh, kind of like how they showed in Unreal. Like, and you still have like all these options for going down in LODs and everything. That is an amazing tool.
There's also a similar feature
Yeah,
in
Unreal.
Human Creator. So we're gonna take a look at that real quick.
Okay. I'm glad he shows this even in Unreal too, so.
Open this up.
Yes.
So what you would do is you go to this import option from template,
Template, okay.
and then you're going to get some options here for meshes. So I'm going to feed it the same thing. So there is the head. I'm going to do the left eye. I'm going to do the right eye, teeth, and the body mesh. Yeah. And this could be partly due to my lack of knowledge of how to correctly use all the settings, but in my testing, this is the best result I was getting out of Metahuman Creator. And I will say it's called Metahuman Creator and not Meta Ape Creator, so that might be
fair enough. It still did like a pretty good job, but honestly, like you would still need to like re-import, export into different software, basically ZBrush or Blender to sculpt. So I guess I understand now why you created this tool.
But it works really well with humanoid characters. But the issues here become a little more obvious with something like this. So I'm going to create.
Yeah, there's a lot of pinch in the nose. I feel like I don't know why. Even like formation of the the topo is
And then I'm going to circle back to what I was showing there in the Blender scene with converting the DNA, and we'll keep rolling from there. One thing I want to point out too is like, so see how the head actually moved up a little bit from the shoulders? So that was also one of the issues I was having, was I wanted to keep the exact proportions of the ape as in the exact shape of the mesh that I wrapped.
But yeah, I can see how like it gave it more of a human proportion than like an actual ape proportion.
There's a little bit of, I think, some automatic calibration and stuff that's going on that works great on humans, but in this case is probably not what we want.
Seeing some love in chat for the fact that you work on LOD 0 and it auto does everything to all the other LODs.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, that definitely saves you a lot of time if you're not having to edit like 8 meshes. So,
yeah.
So what I did is I turned on the face ROM. And then this goes through the poses, and we can immediately see.
Yeah, this obviously it's because of the fact that it's not really a human. Like, and the thing is, like, a chimp is like, I feel like this was like a great example of like maybe an animal with like a bit close to like human shapes. But the fact that it's reacting like this, yeah.
A lot of issues, right?
Yeah, the mouth is not really, it's kind of clipping out.
With the various expressions. And like, so
It's not really, yeah.
But yeah, even like the eyes and everything.
Ooh, okay, okay. Now I see really the problem. It's not really even. It's not even like capturing the expressions correctly, really.
So keep that in mind. We're going back in here. Um, the one thing about this converter that I like is it adheres exactly to how the mesh was wrapped. So I wrapped this ape with the mouth slightly open, and this is a common technique where you will, you'll have your scan or your sculpt, and the mouth will be slightly open, and then the eyelids slightly closed, and then you can use that for baking like normals, color, and stuff. But what I use it for is vertex groups. So really, when you have a rig that has, I think it's around 800 bones, you probably don't want to have to
Yeah.
weight paint all those bones. And so what you can do is you can do a 3D point transfer between the your destination topology and your metahuman topology. Now, I'm not going to demo this because this actually will break compatibility with MetaHuman Creator, and we won't be able to go back once we do this. But it is something that I thought was worth calling out because that's why this mouth is open on this ape like this,
Oh,
and that
wait. So, what did he say?
weight paint all those bones.
Yeah.
And so what you can do is you can do a 3D point transfer between the your destination topology and your metahuman topology. Now, I'm not going to demo this because this actually will break compatibility with MetaHuman Creator, and we won't be able to go back once we do this. But it is something that I thought was worth calling out because that's why this mouth is open on this ape like this, and that is a technique you
Wait, he
can use,
uses
especially if you're
affinity.
staying more
Oh,
on
yeah.
Blender, or you can get it back into Unreal, but you can't pipe it through MetaHuman
And
Creator. You would
DaVinci.
have to use the option to import the skeletal mesh from the DNA file, which is also something that we'll show probably on our a later tutorial here on our YouTube channel. But I'm just going to keep rolling with this, and this is going to be our first look at the raw editor, and it's called that because it's really for editing those primary raw controls that I was talking about on DNA and those joint groups that are associated with the raw controls. So there's a default item, and then that's the same way it is in the RBF, and that just is that's your bind pose, your rest pose, whatever you want to call it. And then you jump into an editing mode, and so you can see that you know that you're in an editing mode for one of these editors.
Yeah.
And a lot of these editors all kind of have a similar concept of like editing, and then you revert or commit. So if I click this offset button, this is what's called my target mesh. And
Okay.
like I said, you're dealing with almost like 800 bones. So what you can do instead.
Okay, so you do have to. Okay. Changing from the metahuman vertex vertex can break the engine, so you have to have a target mesh. Okay. That is nice to know.
Of manipulating all these bones, which you can, like you could come in here and just grab a bone, adjust it, and then commit that to DNA. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a feature that I'm about to demo here within the add-on.
Or okay, so you can change it.
So I'm actually going to go to my
maybe I didn't
options.
understand
I'm
like
the
correctly,
internal bone,
like as to why you can demo it.
So this just shows me what's the only internal bones to the head, so it makes it a little easier to
Okay.
navigate all those bones. And I grabbed the jaw bone. So let me go back to solid. I'm going to rotate the mouth closed. I'm going to grab it like this. Now you may have noticed I just messed up the teeth. I moved the teeth, and I'm really just trying to close the lips over this, and I'll show you why I did that.
Yeah.
So there is a tool for pasting over your selection. So this actually takes the deformed state of the geometry, and I just pasted it over onto my target mesh, and the teeth didn't move. It's just right there. So I can.
And you can do many variations. Wait. Oh, wait. This is okay. Now I understand why yeah. You kind of have to. Oh, okay. So to do like multiple variations, you might need actually a target niche. Okay, okay. But you can move. Okay, wait. I was wrong. Wait. You can change the vertex. Towards target mesh and modify character. Okay.
Go back to some of these bone operations. I'm just going to revert the actual rig itself back to how it was.
Wow.
But this gives me a nice starting point for my sculpting. So I'm going to go in here
and
use maybe the inflate brush and just close up the mouth here. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because it's really just to kind of illustrate the point I'm trying to make.
Wait, this could be so great for expressions. Wait, this is actually could like change the game for like portfolios, how you render. Wait, this can actually like help a lot. Hold on, this can help for renders, especially like even posing your character. You can already start your sculpt with your character already posed with the correct anatomy. My bad.
Yeah, you know, like maybe something like that.
And you can do like multiple like. This is actually kind of crazy.
Then what you can do is, like I said, this is all about moving the bones around. So I can run this bone matching operator, and it's going to look at this mesh, and then it's going to look at the bones, and it's going to do this computation. It's actually a hyperopt, so it's going to run through 1,000 iterations of going. It's going to run through 1,000 iterations of doing rotations, translations on all the bones across the face, and it's going to try to find the optimal position to where it can make this look like that. And so you can see it got very, very close. And so, you know, there's parts of the lips and stuff that don't exactly match.
Yeah, I mean,
to note, I didn't do.
I mean, you kind of like more so inflated like a lot of parts. I'm surprised it even got like most of like the hold on I mean from my side, the left, this side, it actually has it like pretty much correctly. It's really this part, but like you inflated like basically the whole thing. You didn't like actually move it, so
any changes to the weight painting or anything like that. But to take it the rest of the way, I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to click this option, which is paste vertices.
This is such a great tool. Oh my gosh, I need to use Blender. I mean, I'm already using Blender, but like this is actually kind of crazy.
Mesh. Now it is one-to-one. So I slightly altered the vertices on the rest pose of the character. So the rest pose is now fixed. I'm going to click commit. And then now it is updating the actual DNA file. Up until this point, we were just working with Blender scene data. And so now we will see the results of our changes as soon as it pops us back out of the editor mode. So you can see this is the control that opens your jaw.
Oh.
At 0, it is closed. So that is fixed. This is our starting point. There's still issues with it. You can see like that right there.
Yeah.
But I will finally circle back to this right here. So this is what our first attempt was. Now I'm going to remove this rig. And then this time I'm going to import from DNA. I'm going to choose the replace option. And then I'm going to choose, let me see, make sure I grab the right file. I will grab, this is that DNA that we just converted. So we've got the head, and let me put in the body. I'm going to apply this. So it's going to go and start putting in those bones. Or, I mean, it's going to verbatim copy what is in the DNA. There's no automatic calibration stuff going on. It'll just read that data directly.
I think it's worth emphasizing here too that like this is right. This is a metahuman, right? So we're expecting very humanoid like things like that when you get.
Oh my gosh, and it exports so well. Like, oh wow. Wait, this is actually very great. This like you would be basically like I use obviously ZBrush, but like I would go from ZBrush to Blender and really stay on Blender for the most part, then go to Unreal. Oh wow.
To extreme bounds like this, there will obviously be things to.
This shortens a lot of things.
Won't convert 1-to-1 perfectly, but these tools for fixing it seem extremely simple.
Yeah, so like I mean, obviously, like the snout of an ape is like, you know, that's not what a human's face looks like. So that's one of the first issues that we're seeing, you know, when you try to put human DNA onto an ape. But so here's
the
my
expressions
current,
are pretty good too. Oh my gosh.
This is where we're at with just that initial conversion. So it still has the issues, right? But I think this is maybe a little bit better.
It is better because, like initially, like in the first few hundreds, we would see problems.
Of a starting point to go from than what we were working with before, and so this is what I'm gonna roll with through the rest of the presentation. So I will jump to my next example file. I think this took me about like 2.5 hours. Kind of went through this the other night. I'm not a character artist, and I didn't look at any reference. What I was really doing was I was looking at the issues, like I saw where the teeth poking through different parts, and I was I was fixing those things. So the expressiveness of it may, not be exactly correct, but that was why I chose it, was because everyone can see there's issues that need to be fixed, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go in and fix everything that we can see. So that's the first issue. The mouth side needs to be fixed. So I pre-sculpted these, so you don't have to watch me do that. But
I would have liked to see it though.
You get a raw control. So if we select that, we say we want to edit that. So we're back in the raw control editor, but this is for a particular expression. And this is actually like, I'm going to show you here in a second what DNA looks like visually. But this is on that first layer of corrective expressions. But what I'm going to do is do the object select here. I'm going to do that offsetting again so we can see the target mesh. I'm going to use this paste from selection option. So do you see how I just fixed that? I'm going to trigger
okay, wait. Okay.
What I'm going to do.
So he basically like. Wait. So. Is it with? Okay, I'm gonna have to reanalyze
Is
this
to the
live stream,
object
but
select here. I'm going to do that offsetting again so we can see the target mesh. I'm going to use this paste from selection option. So do you see how I just fixed that? I'm going to trigger the hyperopt. It's going to run,
oh
and
wow,
it just, we don't have to fiddle with those bones. It doesn't get us there all the way,
yeah, you're gonna have to clean this up, but it's all right.
but that's what you can do on the shape key layer. So I'm going to go ahead and just commit this. Like I said, I didn't do any weight painting. So I'm going to try to correct as much of this as I can just with moving some bones and editing the shape keys. So in the actual shape key editor, there's some filtering options, which I don't know if I explained that before, but I can disable viewing list items that do not have a value because there's, hundreds of things in here. And so this is an
Yeah.
easy way to navigate it. I know that this shape key is activated when you have this control over here. So this is the one that needs to be edited. We'll go in here in the shape key editor. I will go also into object mode. You'll select this, and then we will just paste. So now it looks one-to-one, and the expression is
Oh,
fixed. So I will commit that. And
okay,
then we will.
but okay. So you first would do it to the target mesh, then go on edit, then copy paste. Can't you like directly go from like this to like the mesh copied? Or I might have missed a step or
Move the
something.
control the opposite way. So it's
Yeah.
broken on the right side as well. Same process. Go in here, click this, offset that, select this one,
Okay, so
paste
you
that
do
one,
have.
run the hyperopt.
Okay. So you do have to do it to the target mesh first. Then you can like do another copy paste. Okay.
Commit that.
You
And
have.
we'll edit this.
Hold on.
And one last time, we will paste shape key. So now that one is fixed.
Into
And I'll
target.
this. So that's about, I mean, I'm not going to show you every
And
single one,
we can
but you can see right
paste
away, this is actually looking a lot better
into
just by fixing two of
sculpt.
those poses. And it kind of has to do with, like I was saying, the snout of an ape, being very different from a human. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a little bit different. And the bones will need to be placed differently. But
From an artist perspective, this is awesome.
Yes.
In this
Yes, it
instance,
is.
the thing that takes significantly the most work is the fun stuff. It's the creation of the model and the character and stuff like that. The actual fixing of the rig or adjusting the rig is a handful of button presses, and then a fairly brief wait. I mean, it was like what, maybe 10 seconds at most for most of those.
I mean, I don't know if like doing, but definitely does make the process like a lot more fun. In fixing the issues, especially like the fact that I know he's not as character artist, but like to really fix these issues, like he needed to sculpt. Like I don't think it's really really the most boring part is really going through the clip and verifying which how can I say this, which expression is not really working. But even then, like honestly, it's not that bad. This is actually very great.
yeah, well, yeah, and so actually that is a good point. Is I keep running that hyperopt, and I wanted to explain that a little bit. So That is actually, it's a PyTorch environment, but it is it allows you to leverage your hardware. So you can use Torch to leverage your hardware. So right now I have a 5090 in my machine, so I'm harnessing my GPU through the CUDA
Okay.
bindings. It also supports CPU, and CPU is actually really fast too. And then MPS on, if you're on Mac OS, you can also run this.
Okay.
But you do need to click the install, and this just installs
Oh, for
PyTorch and the
CUDA.
dependencies into an environment. That's a one-time thing, and then that button will that'll show.
Oh wow.
But yeah,
Okay.
I mean that saves a ton of time for artists where you can just have fun sculpting, and then
Yes.
most of this will take care of the kind of the technical side of things, and you know, you just get to kind of play around.
And this is so great, even for like I'm thinking even for like fighting games. You know how in Street Fighter, like people don't know, but like they actually like sculpt like some of the full. I mean, really, for all the characters, they sculpt like the movements of the fold, sculpt like the muscles and everything. Like this tool right there would be so helpful. I mean, obviously, this is like mainly for how can I say this? This is mainly for body and face uh like movements, but like wow.
So with that, actually, I'm going to jump into the next example. And it's really isn't necessarily a feature of the add-on itself, but I did want to show a cool like Blender feature because I'm not a character artist and I don't really know that much about sculpting, but there's this one feature I found that was pretty useful when doing a
Yeah.
lot of this, because a lot of this has to do with stuff around the lips. And so if I go in here, I do edit. What I did is I set myself up some face sets.
Oh my gosh, James, James. Oh my gosh. What?
And
I don't care if you're not a character artist. You won my heart, man.
I separated basically the upper, or I made a face set for the lower lip. And then there's this option here for auto masking by face sets. And so if I turn this off, and I pretty much have been using like one or two brushes
Yeah.
the entire time. I don't, you know,
Yes.
these are just the ones that I found that kind of are working for me. But if I say,
That's basically every character artist. At this point, you might as well be one. You basically like use like, let's just say like max like 5 different like I'm lying. You might be, let's just say he says like 2 or 3. It's pretty common, like let's just say like really commonly used 5 and like sometimes 10, but like the other 10s is more like on the later like stages and stuff. But like at the start, like you're using like what 3, 5 different brushes really. Like I'll say even like some people even use only one type of brush for the entire process, like build a brush. So obviously in ZBrush, but yeah,
want to
yo,
fix this lip where the teeth are now touching the lip,
yeah,
I pull this, and you can see that I just pulled the upper lip. So that's not what you want. What this face sets option or the auto masking does is if you have that on, the first thing that you touch is what it's going to pull. So I can go here and I
oh
can make
my
these
gosh,
adjustments and pull the,
that
you
is
know,
so useful.
leverage.
Wait, can you make? He said auto masking, but like, can you make like your own type of mask? Also, I'm taking notes of this face sets, how it works. I mean, he said masking, so how it works, but can you make your own mask? And I make my own mask.
some of Blender's like awesome sculpting tools to get some of this done. So that's pretty much what I was going to show in that file. So you commit that change for that particular pose. And then we're going to hop into a little more advanced
Okay.
example. And we're going back to what I was saying before about the kind of the layers to DNA. So you want to start simple. You want to start at the raw controls.
I'm going to need to rewatch this like live stream, but this was extremely informative,
And
like
then you
also
start getting
very
into a few
useful.
more complex poses. And with every combination, there's a white paper that Epic released on RigLogic when they first came out with Metahumans that I think is really interesting. But they're basically talking about how as you combine certain expressions, they're not going to linearly stack. You can't linearly stack them on top of each other. So for every combination, you have another corrective that brings maybe two together or several together. And we're going to see that here. And like I said, I'm not a character artist, but one thing that a
Did you
process that
say
I've
that?
kind of like try to follow is I saw something on the Epic documentation about with the scan reference poses. So they have what are called like MH12 and then MH50 poses, and they say like when you're scanning that if you do the MH12, you capture, I think it was the essence of a character's expressions. And so you can see these poses here. So I'll go through and I'll just like, toggle through these where I
Oh,
need to make them.
wait, it also transfers to like, so this is one of the things I was like asking myself, like, can can the expression for like normal humans transfer to like the one that frick for the presets of expression, did it transfer to also the custom mesh that you just made? And also the presets transfers, that's actually pretty cool. From regular to human to custom transfers. Okay.
Fixes. Then the MH50, I think they said this is where if you calibrate
Okay, so you can control like how much
all of these correctly to
you want
match
to.
your scans, then you actually have I think it's the likeness of the character. And so I kind of like just going through those and then going through these and making sure they all look good. And when I was at this look down left pose, this is kind of our first example of where we have a little more complex, a little more complex evaluation of the corrective poses. So you have on your raw control, which these also have the bones and their associated shape keys, which we were showing before. You have a look down and then you have a look left, but we do not have a down left. And this is where these other two shape keys come into play. And this is pretty easy to figure out when you're looking at something like this, but this gets a lot more complicated the more complicated the expression is. So that's why we have this tool called the behavior graph or behavior viewer. And what this does is it builds a graph. And if you remember at the very beginning of the slideshow, I was talking about PSDs. Those are post-space deformations, and those are really these expressions that map together your correctives. So there's ones that are for the animated maps, but there's what we're really just going to focus on is the shape keys. So if we look at the actual equation here, this is just the product of these two values. So you multiply these two shape key values together, and then you get how this shape key value gets activated. So it's very obvious when you look at the graph that this is the one I need to edit for this pose, because this is ultimately everything, all the dependencies evaluate down and they get me to this pose on the left side and this pose on the right side. So this is simple. I will show you a more complex one, but let's try that. So it was this I look left down pose. So I'm going to click that, and you can see that the add-on actually backwards solves that graph that we were just looking at. And it says, okay, I need to activate the I look left blend shape and the down, and then I also need to activate how those bones are transformed. And then that gets me to this pose. So all that to say, this is the key we want to edit. So we click edit, go in here, and I will just fix the I.
Okay.
And I will commit. So that's kind of how you navigate. That's how you navigate DNA, and the corrective expressions is kind of through, or that's kind of at least my method for navigating those corrective expressions.
I specifically enjoy the fact that the committing is a process, because that it will make me feel more comfortable to just kind of get in there and start breaking stuff if I know that, like, I'm not really breaking it until I press that button, which
Yeah.
I think is really beneficial from an from an artist perspective.
Yeah, no. So actually, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because I had forgot about this. So there's another tool in here called the Backup Manager, and
Oh
in your add-on
my
preferences,
gosh.
there's a policy, and I think
Even if you regret committing, you can go back. This is
the
oh
default value is
wow.
5 backups. But
You know what's crazy? Oh wait,
in your
what
add-on,
did he
there's
say?
another tool in here called the Backup Manager. And in your add-on preferences, there's a policy, and I think the default value is 5 backups. But you can make a manual backup of your DNA, like I did, well, whatever, and it'll save a backup. The policy will not delete manual backups, but it does clean up automatic backups. And
Oh, okay. This is this is very interesting. Um, so automatic ones are 5. Okay, that's actually pretty small, especially with the number of changes that happens. Like even like within like an hour. Like, but like I always think about like I guess it's really with the button placement that I really need to think about. But with whenever I use Maya or really anything, I always control save into like 50 different files, right? I do the same for ZBrush. And so the fact that in that one file I can like do like 50 different like manual backups, I think that's good. As long as they don't delete, like, can you do like what's the limit for manual backups?
automatic backups happen before and after every commit. So the shape key
Before and after, okay.
commit that I just made, I can revert back to that state before I made the commit. I can then
Oh, okay. So it makes basically 2 backups in like one.
restore back to what I just committed. So
Okay.
that gives you a kind of a very non-destructive way, because you might get like, you might get dozens of expressions deep in this, and you mess something up. Because I'm going to show you here later how, I mean, you could already see in that first graph how the expressions stack. But if you
Yeah.
start modifying stuff at the beginning of that tree, and you've already done stuff at the end, you can have some unintended results. And so being able to roll back, I think is a nice feature that you can utilize right there if that is a problem.
Absolutely.
Can you up like the number of automatic backups? That would be nice. I'm pretty sure you can manually like change
The
it.
behavior viewer, let me just
Hopefully.
explain this a little bit more. I was kind of talking about like my, I guess, preference of like how I kind of go through and edit some of the poses or identify issues. I think what might be really tempting for people is to import, be like, okay, well, I can see in MetaHuman Creator that the face ROM animation's messed up. I'm just going to import that animation and I'm going to start fixing my blend shapes. And that's, I
Yeah.
think, kind of where you're going to run into issues. And so that's why I really recommend you go through, this comes from the actual rig definition. So these are target poses. And you'll notice if we have our shape key editor, see our shape keys and our raw editor, you'll see that all of these activate at 1 for every single pose in here. So it goes through a bunch of these different poses. And what you would want to do to fix your issues would be, is go through and find issues in these first. So you go through all the L1 poses that are pre-made for you here, and then what I did for this demo is I stopped there. I just did L1 and I didn't even do a very good job of making the expressions match what the expression is making the expression match what it's supposed to look like on a human. All I was doing was trying to fix stuff that's poking through the geometry. So I just looked for ones that had that. But that's layer 1. You can filter your different layers. And I'm going to show you what layer 6 looks like.
Oh, wow,
so,
that's very expressive.
It's got a pretty good amount of raw controls that are all activated in this single expression. And then we can take a look here. And these are all of the shape keys that activate for this one pose. And so this can be pretty intimidating, especially when you're trying to figure out, okay, so which shape key am I supposed to edit? And that's where the behavior viewer, is really going to be beneficial. So we go in here and we graph this. You can see that, okay, this is obvious. I just need to make the fix here on the left side and the right side. That is correct. But you kind of want to make sure that you're done with these. You know what I mean? Because if you change anything down here, you can have an unintended result on your final shape key. So this will be the ultimate shape key where you make your fix, but all of these are deltas. They're not set poses. These are the shape keys are defined as deltas. And I guess one thing on the subject of deltas, you'll notice these little ghost icons that are appearing on these. So when I run that converter,
22
it
minutes.
actually zeroes
I think
out
I'm
all of your shape keys.
I don't want to
So what
like
the ghost icon means
continue
is
to
there are 0
pause.
deltas on the shape key. So this shape
Oh,
key
it's
is
almost
equivalent
done.
to the basis shape
Then
key.
I guess it's questions.
There's no difference. So this can be helpful. Sometimes like you'll go through and you'll edit some shape keys and you're like, oh, which one did I edit? Which one actually has values? Which one doesn't even matter? Because like if I freeze this, and what freezing is like a nice little tool where it keeps the items from moving. So I'm moving this, it does nothing because there's nothing on the blend shape.
Oh, freeze. Okay.
This one, I might need to zoom in. This one actually does. And then this is what I meant by freezing. This sorts by what has a value. So like my shape key just disappeared there, So if you don't want that to happen, you can use the freezing option.
Oh, okay.
All right, so we are basically getting to the end of
That's
it.
useful.
To make sure I open the right file. Here is, like, this is after me spending about 2 hours the other night trying to calibrate this. I got past all the L1s, and then I loaded in the face ROM just to see how it's looking, and I wasn't seeing any geometry
The expression is
poking
funny.
through. Obviously there's still some things that are not to be desired, but you could,
It's not
with more
bad.
time, you could go through and you could fix those. And like I said, I was only at the first layer of corrections. But we go back into MetaHuman Creator here. So we have our chimp with our problems.
Yeah.
I am going to remove the rig one more time.
Okay.
From DNA, replace. I already exported this to something called, to a folder called final. And then do that exact same thing. We're going to import from DNA. We're replacing it. We don't want any kind of automatic calibration or anything going on in MetaHuman Creator. We want to pull our data in exactly as we set it in our in Blender.
Oh wow.
Yeah, a lot of love for these tools in chat.
Yes.
And I'm one of them. This is
Well
awesome.
deserved.
Well, that's great to hear. Yeah, I mean, that was the goal, right? Was take a process that's honestly kind of nebulous, because it's a different file format, unless you do a lot of scripting in Python, or you're using Maya, which Epic's got some really awesome tools to do something very similar in Maya. But if you're in Blender, you don't really have any options. So this now gives people the option to do some of this advanced, calibration. And you can see here, we scrub through. I'm not seeing any issues anymore on the ape. And then kind of as the final part of this, I made a little level. I'm going to open up. I'm going to not save that. Open up this level sequence, and I loaded the face ROM again onto both of these characters, and we can watch here. Let's go to a part where he moves like his mouth. So here, right? That's
Okay.
the where we started from. This is where we're at now. So we fixed those issues with the mouth. There's also like I think there's a part here where, yeah, like see the teeth are poking through on the front there, and this kind of lip bite. So he's doing the lip bite pose. Fully. We go back here to calibrating, but this kind of unlocks that for you. You can actually edit that stuff now with these tools. So that is pretty much the demo.
Wow.
So
Amazing.
we can, I guess, go into questions if you have any, Dan.
Yeah. No, we've gotten quite a few, and I'll actually use this as another opportunity for folks. If you have any, him as.
And actually, we have support for the last two LTSs, and actually, the most recent LTS came out last week. So that is updated, and you can use Blender 5.2 all the way back to 4.5.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. Another question we have at least half answered, but I wanted to throw this.
I mean, I'm going to use
at
the
you
most
anyways, which
recent
is,
version of
will
Blender.
this transfer
So
the body rig as well? Which it appears, yes, it does. But also, what about RBF support on the free version?
On the free, so the RBFs do evaluate on the free version, so that you will get the one-to-one body rig in the free version. The thing that is not in the free version is the RBF editor. So you can't change the RBFs in the DNA, but your rig will function exactly like it does in Unreal with the RBFs on the body in the free version. So if you're using this for more of like an animation workflow, you pretty much have everything you need. There is another add-on that we have just started working on called Character Control Rig add-on. This is a paid one, but it's got a bunch of animator tools, and it's got a full control rig. So you got your IK controls. We have a pre-made Rigify template, but we're also going to add support for Auto Rig Pro. So some popular rigging frameworks that a lot of Blender users like to use.
Awesome. Are there any considerations or use cases for this pipeline for hair or grooms for characters?
Yeah, so DNA itself does not contain hair.
Okay.
You can get hair, or you can get grooms out of Unreal by exporting as an Alembic, and I don't think
Yeah.
you can actually do that out of the box. There are some third-party plugins that allow you to export Alembics from Unreal. Blender are interested in. I would recommend leaving us a comment on our GitHub discussions because we want to help support these character workflows in any ways we can. But if there's interest in that, then that's definitely something we could maybe streamline. But you just have to export as a Limbic. You can't export grooms into DNA.
Okay. Another question we had, which might not be in the scope of this, but I'll throw it at you anyways, is how can I use this to rig extra things to a character, like attach clothes to them in Blender? Is there a section for that in the plugin, or should that be done manually?
Oh, that was something I was wondering. That's an actual useful question.
So for the clothes, those are actually also not in DNA.
Okay.
But they are when you assemble a metahuman character. And actually, if you give me a second, well, let me make sure I have it assembled.
Sure.
Well, I do not.
Well,
if I ran the assembly, it probably takes a minute or so. But my main answer would be that if you run assembly for your Unreal Engine project from Metahuman Creator, it takes your clothes and puts those into skeletal mesh assets in a content folder in your project. You can right click on those and you can export those as FBX for sure. And I think probably there's support for other file formats, but you can pull those out as an FBX. Once you have the FBX still should have those vertex groups on it. So you should be able to just put that in Blender, and then you would just assign the armature modifier from the rig that you have from the DNA add-on to your clothes, and it should skin immediately from that.
Okay.
You just need to make sure you fix the scale and everything and put it on the character.
Right. Another question we had here is, why is it necessary to do the hyper op and then the second copy? Can't you just do the second copy?
Yeah, so you actually could do
it's a good question.
everything with metahumans with just blend shapes.
Okay.
The thing about metahumans is they are designed to go down in levels of detail. So only on LOD 0 are shape keys visible. And then once you get to LOD 1, you're dealing with the rig. So, in Blender, you might be able to do that. But in a game, after you get a certain distance from your character, you're going to lose all those blend shapes. And especially with something like an ape, your snout might be poking through and stuff because all it's working with at that point are bones. And then if you wanted to do just shape keys, you would also need to make sure that your bones honestly aren't affecting the face at all. So you're going to have unintended consequences of the bones move here. I adjust the shape key, the bones can still move around. So you would basically want to take the bones kind of out.
Another question we had here was, what is the process of wrapping the custom mesh to the metahuman rigs? How to approach that?
You know what? I'm gonna stop right there. I think I'm gonna watch like the question section on my own time. I had a few of my questions already answered, like the ones I was really interested in. But this was an interesting video. I loved it. And I can't wait to watch the other videos that Unreal has put out recently about like their new functions, parameters that they or new tools they created in Unreal. So yeah, this video definitely gave me an incentive to use Blender a lot more.